We're great. We're a great group to practice on. Sure.
Oh, good. Yeah.
This is my first presentation.
Good. Well, that's perfect.
Today's the first day of winter. Yes, I can tell.
It wasn't winter last week when it was 5 degrees.
No.
Okay, so today I'm just going to show you the Measure Factory, just sort of a brief overview of the front end. Feel free to ask any questions, and if you have any questions you want to compare it to what we had before in Framework, I have that open in another tab too.
Now, I have one question for you. So now this, where you are right now, hospital.
Yes, this is our home page.
Okay, so everyone has access to this if they have access to the bridge?
This is our development environment.
Okay.
I do not believe everyone has access to this. Everyone has access to the bridge, which gets you sort of a, we should be updating this soon, but the bridge, feel free to play around in here, is a little more limited than what I'm going to show you.
Okay, so the bridge is hospital operation.
Yeah, this is the bridge. We did a demo for Chime a couple weeks ago, and whatever was ready then, we moved to the bridge.
Okay.
We since have more done,
okay.
so the development environment has a little more.
Okay.
So I'm going to show in the development environment. So this is the hospital operations framework, knowledge base, which is basically everything we had in Framework.
Okay.
So it's aimed sort of towards hospitals, not ambulatory, not surgery. It's really aimed towards sort of the hospitals.
In general.
In general.
Okay.
And the first dashboard is the executive dashboard.
Holy crap.
This is not our day, technically.
It must be that connection.
It might work like a Nintendo cartridge where if you just like
Blow on it?
yeah, I don't know.
You're going to make too much video.
No, go ahead.
What do we have?
Better in front of us than other people.
Yeah, at least this is in the corner.
Because we're cuckoo anyways.
Does anyone else have another
I do.
adapter? No, maybe it's my adapter.
I actually have a
okay.
Do you have a VGA connection with you, Jeff?
Right, I have actually,
Do you have it?
Do you have a VGA connection?
trying to find, it's right here.
Cool.
Yeah. So there, you can just go right into mine to make it easier for you. I think I have one of the few computers that has that. Sean, do you have a direct adapter?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, lady. No rush. You see, everyone's got their holiday mood already started.
Yeah.
So last night, I took the kids to buy presents for each other.
Oh.
It was like, hell, yeah.
Did they have a budget?
Well, so they all brought their own money that they like
Oh.
from like gifts and stuff, and they wanted to buy for each other.
Oh, sweet.
So I had to take them individually around the store so the others couldn't see it. And then we got home and I was like, where are you guys going to hide your gifts? And they're like, oh, we want to wrap them right now. So I had to wrap all the gifts for them. And then they put them under the tree. And as soon as they put them under the tree, they start like grabbing the one that the others had bought for them and like shaking it. And I was like, get your hands off! I wonder what this is. I wonder what this is. They should have like pulled their money together and like bought something. So
No, but that's why
Abigail,
we're sharing though.
and Abigail was so proud of the gift that she got for Lillian because it's a little keychain with a pink poop emoji on it.
Oh.
And wearing like a little princess crown, and she's like, "This is awesome."
Do you have the GoToMeeting? I want to pull your calendar up in front of it.
No, you can pull my calendar up if I really. I'm pretty. I'm not a woman of secrets.
Fair enough, because I need to get to pull up the GoToMeeting.
Yeah.
Where's your calendar?
Go back to inbox. Go to events and tasks. And go to right there.
No, I just
What do you want anyway? Are you in Outlook?
Yeah.
Oh, what's you? I'm not.
So is this always going to be mostly for hospitals?
It is all hospital.
But like is ambulatory and surgery eventually down the
Those are
line?
coming. Oh yeah.
Coming? Okay.
Yeah, surgery I'm working on right now. We're basically, this is the one we started with because it's the big knowledge base, and then we're going to add surgery, ambulatory, all the others. The theory is what we've gotten most of the kinks worked out with this one, so the other one should be somewhat quicker. Okay.
Okay, make sure it's recording.
Yes, we are.
Okay, great.
Okay. So as I was saying, this is sort of the main landing page where you can get to all of the dashboards we've built. Basically, you'll notice these are very similar to the framework ones, just a little updated design. They're also a lot easier to build, which I'll show you.
Oh, good.
I think that's going to be a major sort of thing that you can market.
Uh-huh.
This looks so good.
Yeah, so it's the same. You press it, it updates. And every measure has an analysis portlet. If it works. Allows you to dive on it, and you can also open up the marker in ProDiver to do more diving.
Now, is that a new feature?
No.
Okay.
But the markers are going to be more powerful moving forward.
Okay.
As we add more things.
So powerful how? More powerful how?
We're adding various dimensions, categories.
Okay.
Do you have ProDiver installed on here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So all we do, let's say we're on the analysis, we see something we want to investigate more, all we have to do is press ProDiver.
So ProDiver access would basically be defined by what the user has at their organization.
Yes.
So not every user would have ProDiver.
No.
Right.
But if a user does, you know, they'd be able to then go
Yes. Okay.
directly from here.
Okay.
Which I think your version might be outdated or something, so it can't open, but
Oh, well, I don't know. It could be. All right, so let me ask you a question. So let's go, so that's the executive dashboard.
Yes.
So explain to me with the Measure Factory. So here we had framework.
yes.
So the difference between framework and the Measure Factory is the fact that we put in the measures and the definitions. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yes, the whole thing is basically driven by this measure dictionary.
Okay.
This concept that every measure has a specific definition, a specific calculation, and anywhere in the product where you see admissions, it's going to mean the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if two people are looking at admissions on two different dashboards and doing two different types of analysis, they're ultimately looking at the same measure. You're not going to have a situation where I was looking at it by admission date and you're looking at it by discharge date, so we spend 20 minutes figuring out why we have different numbers.
Mhm.
It's all about data governance and the fact that I can click on any measure. It's going to give me a definition, the business rule, where we got this from, and anywhere in the product where I see observation visits, this is what it's going to mean.
Now, some of the measures and definitions are defined by the government. So the government has defined measures. And some of the measures, let's say measures are coming in from defined databases within the government, like Medicaid and Medicare, right? And then other things like business rules are basically defined by the customer.
Yeah, basically we give them sort of a set of, I think it's a couple hundred defined one. That's the quality measures, the ones from the government, and then what we think based on industry standards they should be. Then every customer is going to say, well, we do it this way, or we do it that way. So they can either replace our rule or just add an additional custom rule. And every customer is going to add probably a few. I think George says like between 10 and 15% of rules will be custom. Because every hospital does things a little differently. But the point is that among each hospital, it's going to be the same. So everyone in the hospital system is going to be looking at the same data.
So that's 10 to 15% is a very small percentage. Based on, I think we said we have 200 defined measures.
Yeah, as of now.
As of now.
And we're always adding.
Wow. Okay. So that's basically a large chunk of work completed.
Yes, exactly. So they open this up and they can pretty much start doing this from day one.
Wow.
And then if they want to build it, they can do that. But they have a lot to work with just from day one without them doing anything.
Now, what's the difference between, so we understand, what's the difference between a defined measure and a business rule?
The measure is sort of a higher level. So admissions, discharges, a business rule, every measure is going to have sort of a business rule. What does it mean? But a business rule might not have a corresponding measure. So it might be a palliative care flag. That's not a measure. That's just for various measures will exclude or include palliative care.
Okay.
So we have a rule that says this is what defines a palliative care patient. So then let's say we're looking at admissions, we might want to exclude or for mortality, we might want to exclude our palliative care patients because that's not a quality issue. So we can then look to that flag, that rule, and exclude those patients for that calculation.
So in other words, a measure is defined, and the business rule basically makes it proprietary, if you want to say, to that organization.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
It also allows for more inclusions and exclusions. And then from here, so any dashboard where this measure pops up, I can see here. I can click on it, or I will be able to click on it, and it'll take me directly to that dashboard.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, I can see the calculation. I can see which rules are linked to that measure, because some measures might have 4 or 5 rules attached to it, based on the inclusions and exclusions and what are we looking at. And the measure dictionary we are working on right now. It's a work in progress, but it should be complete or not completed, but we'll go through sort of some major iterations in the next few weeks. That's sort of the major cornerstone of every dashboard is ultimately connected to the measure dictionary. And like, let's go to the inpatient dashboard. From here, I can go to measure overview. And I get that same definition. So wherever I go, every time I see this measure, I'm going to get that definition.
The screen's not updating in the meeting.
I'm not sharing my screen. I did it so many times, I forgot.
Marissa,
But
when I logged into Bridge Healthcare and clicked on Measure Factory, I got the definition display, and I couldn't find executive dashboard.
I am sharing my screen.
Because of hospital operations. That's where I went into Measure Factory too, but we should be looking at hospital operations.
Oh, okay. And that's where the executive dashboards are, the Measure Factory.
Yes. So basically, what is the URL for the bridge?
Here goes, thank you.
So because people can purchase Measure Factory as like an additional add-on, to me this seems like almost necessary, but it's not. So, I mean, when you're talking about the 200 measures that we defined for them previously, that's super easy. If you don't have Measure Factory, like you don't get those. It's an add-on. It's an add-on.
So do we have any insight as to how companies are doing this that are using other solutions? I mean, like, are there any other solutions that offer something like Measure Factory?
Basically, most solutions now have some form of standard content. Where you buy our product, we'll give you these measures. I know Meditech, we had the same thing where you can make your own measures, you can make your own rules, but we give you a good starting point. And I think, did we do that in Framework?
Yes, there was some. That was how this product, that was the conception of this product was basically.
Yeah. At this point, I don't think there's anyone in the industry who's just giving people without any standard content. You always sort of have some starting point, and then how robust it is sort of differs between the companies.
So without Measure Factory, could you argue that their data might not be as accurate as they could be with Measure Factory?
Exactly, because of the whole data governance thing.
Yeah, because you're looking at different categories all the time. Okay.
And there's no real way to know what you're looking at.
Yeah, that's why it's interesting that it almost feels necessary to have.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times
we want it to feel necessary.
Yeah, because a lot of times it's because people never agree on how something was calculated.
Now, if two people are having a disagreement, you can click on the button and say, oh, it's going by discharge date. That settles it.
Okay, so Gina, can you see everything now?
You mean I've been sharing my screen the whole time, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it started updating again.
And then from each measure, we have, you can look at your current month detail, your measure overview, which is the definition. And then the goal is, from the measure overview, you can then link back to the dictionary eventually. So that there'll always be a way to get back to that dictionary page. And then again, we have the analysis, which will let you launch ProDiver. You can also open it in an Excel or PDF if you want to print it or email it to someone. I can close out of this.
So all of the knowledge bases that you're doing, so the knowledge bases are all different components of all different measures, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that's one thing you don't have to buy. So you could buy the Measure Factory, and then you could have like your starter kit of whatever you decided to do for your measure, for the knowledge bases. But then as an add-on product, the customer can decide that they just want to keep adding new knowledge bases. Which, do you want to explain to them how that works? The knowledge bases, how they would just keep adding new knowledge bases to the core product?
Yeah, so then you could just say you're really liking hospital operations and you want to purchase surgery. So then we'll have basically a very similar thing for surgery, and we can just add that to sort of their bridge or their page. And the goal, I think, is to build it within 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just load in. It all starts with sort of a measure master, which is sort of the big list of all the measures and all the rules. And we build that through Measure Factory. It builds the C-bases. And then, so far it's been pretty quick, but the goal is to be able to then build that up in 2 days, and then they'll be able to start using whatever other products they purchase. So a quick implementation, easy implementation for them.
Quick value.
Quick value, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, the longest portion is the validation, but they can start using it from day one.
Could we look at some of the screens? Because we need to get some new screenshots. So let's,
Yes.
and also I want to see how you build a dashboard.
Yes, that will be the big one.
Yeah.
You want me to get to that?
Thrilled
Yeah.
there were no gradients on any of the screens, none of those like cheesy like gauge things anymore.
Yeah, that was other people's work. So we have to be.
Oh no, it wasn't bad. It was very good for the time.
Oh, right.
But the time has,
See, that's how we edit.
yeah,
Right. This is a great upgrade.
yeah.
Okay, so let's see because Juan told me to make sure I asked you to see how to build a dashboard.
Yes.
Okay.
Building a dashboard, in my opinion, is one of the best parts of this.
Yay! That's a good thing to hear.
I think an important part is I'm not a technical person. I'm a nurse. I have no sort of technical background. At Meditech, we use MicroStrategy. I, for the life of me, could not figure out how to use that thing. I had training. The people who, their entire job to do it, I had trouble with it. So whenever I would try to poke around, I broke something every time. It got to the point where it wasn't funny anymore. I could not figure out how to do anything. This took me probably an hour to figure out on my own without training.
Wow.
So I'm a really big fan of it. So let's say we want to build a dashboard. We're going to build a physician scorecard dashboard. And I'm just going to go ahead and build the whole thing so we can add quick views. All we have to do is pick our project. And in a customer site, they're only going to have one project.
Okay.
So it's just going to kind of pop up. Because this is a development ring, we have choices. And I can add any quick views. I can either scroll down, here's anything I can add. I can also just type what I want. And the quick views are built out.
Wow.
Yes. I'm not super familiar with how you built it in Framework, but I am told it was much more complicated than that.
That's just drag and drop, really.
Yeah. It takes no technical knowledge. You can just click what you want, and it pops up.
Now, can you preview that or so will that appear just as soon as you do that, it appears like that?
Well, I haven't saved yet, so no one else can see this now. Like if you logged in, I don't think you would see this yet.
Oh, okay.
Once I press save, then yeah, it's there.
Okay, and all of the so all of like the graphical elements are already like programmed to be, and it takes
Yeah, it's all there. So we have the library of graphics, we have the library of other stuff, and I'm going to build out more components to show you. So then I just click what I want. Do I want a bar graph? Do I want a line graph? Do I want a pie chart? I click what I want, and it kind of just pops up.
That's awesome. So that's like really
pretty fun, too.
visualization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I know once we the development is sort of finishing off, then we're going to really beef up the library of visuals. I know we already have people at Cambridge sort of thinking of new visuals we can add. So one of the new components we have that is really cool is the measure matrix. And it lets you just sort of pick whatever measures you want to look at, and then however you want to look at them. So let's just pick a few. And it's just a click. So I want to look at acute admissions, I just check the box. I've just added 4 measures just by doing that. So then if I want to add columns, how I'm going to look at them, I can select column, and I can make my columns alerts. I can make them gauges. I'm going to make a text column. And I can look at, I can pick a time frame, and I can pick how I want to look at it. So I'm going to go year to date. You can go previous year to date. And I'll show you, just press apply. I'm going to add more. And just like that, we've created something that allows us to do analysis. And then let's say we want to do variance. And then we can add an alert. And we have an alert, and then we can so you want to change the shape of the alert. So really, once the person becomes familiar with this, which took about maybe an hour to become comfortable with this, you can pretty much just click around and do basically anything you want.
And then how do you decide who your distribution is to see the dashboard? So obviously this could be your own private dashboard, but then do you have the option to share with other people?
That is a work in progress.
Okay.
We are working through that on the security end.
Yeah, for the governance part?
Yeah, for the governance and just security, because you can put patient data on these things, and who can access that. So we're going to have a folder structure in that way.
Okay.
So are you saying as of now, once you save it, anyone can see it, so there are no private dashboards? When, what is it, one?
Well, right now we don't really have it set up like that because no customer actually has this yet.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been fleshed out yet, or if it has, no one's told me about it. But basically, right now, where I'm doing this, if I added the dashboard right now, anyone could see it.
Anyone can see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you're in a
Yeah, because I'm in the development and I'm an admin user, so I can add anything, and then anyone else can see it.
Just like when we have our Marketo, I go in, I define the type of user. In a client environment, the person who's in charge of this product would go in and define what they got to see by the type of user they are.
Yeah, because we can get very specific in terms of who can see what financial information for what facility, and so you can say that took me what, 5 minutes?
Yeah.
And we have, and so it responds. You can pick your facility. You can select here. It responds to this, and then let's say we want to add a chart. We want to add some visuals. All we do is we go add a portlet, chart.
Is there a limit to like how many customized dashboards each individual person can have? Or
I don't see why there would be.
just as many as?
I mean, my guess is they're going to want to keep it somewhat organized.
Yeah.
Well, then we can go back to our dashboard expert for visualization, really. We can give you best practices.
7 plus or minus 2. I know if there was a certain amount, like a limit, they didn't want it going over.
You know, I mean, like I said, I'm sure there are some users who are really going to get into this and make all their own dashboards and build stuff. Some are going to use the standard. Yeah. Depends on.
You built dashboards off of the old tool, so
This is actually very similar.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing is that in the old way, there were a lot more opportunities for customization.
Yeah.
So I think people got overwhelmed because
It was too much.
yeah, they, instead of doing all the customizations, people were just leaving whatever the default was. But now they've locked down the look and feel to a better look and feel, but you can't change it. So, but it's very similar where you pick the marker and, you know, the dimensions and so on.
All right. When you say more options for customization, are you talking about like the different types of charts and like things
Fonts
that
and
you can pick?
colors.
Yeah, like the things you can pick in that.
It still has the same amount of charts. I think it's got a better visual way of picking them. But
It's called the drag and drop. So the great thing then is the fact that what you said, that your information builders is that this, if we were to market this, we can say easy. So basically, it's pick. You go to a list, you pick, select, so pick and click and drag to build a dashboard.
Yeah.
Right?
It couldn't be easier.
Right.
Yeah, it is easier.
I was very excited how quickly I figured it out.
So I guess that's how we could say pick and click and drag.
Well, and just the fact that it looks better automatically.
Yeah.
Yeah, once you get familiar, like you said, you design in
Yeah.
under 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the customer would probably have training or anything. I just sat down and kind of poked around and figured that out in about an hour.
Wow, that's awesome.
And about the colors, we are working so that they can customize the colors for their hospital brand, or
Oh,
we have
that's
to
cool.
change the banner. And yeah, so not every. So this is our brand, but we are working on it. So if their colors are green and white, they can do that. Or
Yeah.
That's awesome.
yeah,
Are you talking about like the background or like the green and red?
like the banner,
Oh, cool.
and then yeah.
Even the colors in the charts can change.
Yeah. That's another aspect. So customization.
I can change
to
the colors
branding.
in the charts. Yeah. Like let's say I do a line chart.
Oh, you can change the color. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what kept about it. Remember when you were talking about color blindness? Which is something I would have never thought of in my life. That was very interesting.
Now, Chelsea, what we're doing for you, so why it's important that you understand all of this, do you have access to the bridge? Okay, so I need to get you access to the bridge. Well, you have access to the bridge, right? Okay, so maybe you should do this project. So when we're doing this whole new thing for the sales department. What we want to do is we want to be able to give them a book of screenshots. So I need somebody to go in and come up with some kind of simple header and footer and say various screenshots. So what I want you to do is if you go into the main dashboard, right, hospital operations, go into all.
I will say that this is about a month old, so it's probably changed.
Okay. So then all of those things, so here are some, so like say executive dashboard, here's the main dashboard screen, inpatient dashboard screen. So that the salespeople, instead of us trying to constantly update our brochures, we're going to have these things that we're going to have, these little what I call plug and play kind of things for us, and we can just go in and give them copies of dashboards. So one simple brochure, all of it is dashboard, and then underneath is a quick explanation of what the dashboard is. And the screenshots, you know how when I did that brochure yesterday, the screenshots need to be big enough so people actually can visually see what contained within the screenshot. And then we can get the screenshots for what?
Yep. You know, so right now you wouldn't want to do the screenshots off the bridge.
Right.
So who do I different?
Okay, so who do I get to update the bridge?
I will talk to George about that.
Okay.
Because we updated it for Chime, and then we did a bunch of work, and we haven't updated since because we were working on doctors and indicators. So we were updating their dev environments, but not the bridge.
Okay. So if you could ask George for me.
Yes.
Okay, that would be great because we're currently working on a couple of brochures. That would be great.
Yeah, I'll send an email after this. So we're making a chart. I picked a line chart. I easily could have picked a bar graph. The bottom I can pick sort of how I want to. And then here, if I wanted to change my color, I could.
Wow. We'll pick her.
Yeah. And I can pick a point style, so let's say I want circles.
So when people, when they were pitching the Meditech analytics, did they openly pitch the fact that it's built on MicroStrategy?
Yes.
They do. They openly do that.
They openly say they partner with MicroStrategy
To do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So when Meditech did have an analytics product now, and they partnered with MicroStrategy.
Oh, I thought you were saying that we did. I was like,
no, I wish we did.
Okay.
That's what we did. But anyway, so it'd be interesting too now that when we're talking about language, about how the fact that our dashboard is so easy to build compared to, and this is really more important for Sean, when you're talking with if a customer is anticipating getting Meditech's analytics product, of the fact of, first of all, the product has many limitations that we have in the brochure, but again, building a dashboard, the basic infrastructure they use is MicroStrategy, and MicroStrategy is not the easiest visualization tool. So our product is far superior to MicroStrategy and data visualization.
I was wondering if there's anything that we should, is there anything that's a negative about our product that we should avoid?
I'm not sure. Is there, yeah, like
Well,
what could someone else argue,
Well,
like when they're pitching that we could like counter argue or something?
Well, it would depend on the competitor. So, you know, in general, it would go competitor to competitor.
Yeah.
So, like for instance, you know, a lot of people try to compare us to Quark and Burst and Tableau. All three of those products are basically visualization dashboard products. They are not, and that's the thing. You can't compare us. It's not the same. No, it's not the same three products. Basically, when you're going in and using that tool, you have a defined path of what you're looking for analytics. I call it a static screen. Basically, you're providing your users with a screen of data. And that's what you get. You see that data. Our product allows you to look on any aspect of that data and to be able to dive in to the root causes of the data. So when we talk about our executive dashboard, here you are with the 7 postage stamps. Within the 7 postage stamps, there's 42 different, I forgot what we have, data points, which allows you to do unlimited diving to go through. That's the beauty of our product. So Health Catalyst, the biggest thing that we have with Health Catalyst is that a lot of people think that you need an enterprise data warehouse. We don't have an enterprise data warehouse. So when people start talking about us in Health Catalyst, the first thing they say is, well, we have at EDW, you guys don't use that. So why don't you use, enterprise data warehouse? Well, we don't need to use the enterprise data warehouse because our product actually can take these directly into our tool. That's our biggest challenge because people have it stuck in their head that they have to have a data warehouse where you don't have to have a data warehouse. And that's what I find that's what Kathy and I have experienced that when we've been at shows and stuff with people saying, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why don't you have that? So are combating that now with columnar database. So that is how but there's really not, when you look at our product, and then the other challenges that we have is we're not an Oracle, we're not on, say for instance, SAS or Microsoft. Well, because they're big names. So big hospitals are going to have big products. And we are probably, our sweet spot is like a 3 to 4 hospital system. We're not, and that's why our big focus too is going after Meditech hospitals because they tend to be smaller. And that's like basically understanding where our sweet spot is and marketing in our sweet spot and staying away from players that we can't compete with. We're not going to compete most likely with them. We know who we are. Know who we are and market to who we can sell. Where do we have the high propensity to close deals? It's not with big, massive hospital systems with 47 hospitals, and that. But if we go to who we market best to, which I just said, we have a pretty damn strong offering.
Yeah.
And the other thing about a data warehouse is there's a big infrastructure cost associated with maintaining a data warehouse. We don't have that. For a smaller hospital system, they don't have to have the cost of maintaining a data warehouse. A lot of hardware, and servers, and it's just not software.
And so when we talk about
A huge problem for Meditech hospitals.
Right, because they can't.
For the Meditech Analytics product, they were spending, one small hospital spent like $200,000 on hardware before they even bought the product. They were not happy about it.
And for whatever reason, a hospital I doubt would, but like I was reading in one of our case studies, is it possible that if they didn't want to surpass their data warehouse, that Dagger still supports that? And so, like, when talking about it, you can say, oh, why would you want to keep your data warehouse? When
Well, we would probably never say, why would you want to keep it anyways? You say you can keep it.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so when talking about it, it's not like our product doesn't support a data warehouse altogether.
It doesn't require one.
Yeah, it doesn't require
So
one. Okay.
this is entirely like web-based storage as opposed to like being stored locally for the hospital.
That is a good question. That's a good question. Because actually, I don't know the answer.
Yeah,
to
it's a
that.
great question for someone else.
Write it down.
What was the question again?
Well, is this a cloud-based storage product? So instead of this being one, so is our product based on the server, so that all the data
Heard as cloud. So you can choose both to either use the cloud or
Okay.
yeah, it's optional.
No, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
because-
And I do think that with Spectre, I think the hardware, like we require them to have like certain hardware specifications now that are larger than they used to be.
Good question. We should define that question better. An answer to that question.
Yeah, because people do ask a lot if we use the cloud.
When we used to, on our old website, we had explanation about all that where we showed the different options, hosted, not hosted. You know, we manage your hardware on your property or you own your own.
Well, that was cool. We should probably get that.
Yeah, there were a lot of things.
But
yeah.
Gene's almost done doing a white paper, which is with the guys in Cambridge, which talks about. Gene, does the white paper talks about some of the hardware specifications? Are you still there?
No, I lost her.
Did you remember, Kathy? I can't remember because I can't remember but I do remember that we did have hardware specifications on there.
Yeah.
So that would be good, Rose. We could pick
I
the
could
copy
pull
up
that
from
up.
Jean's white paper. We'll wait till the guys in Cambridge is put here her white paper, but she has them in the white paper.
Okay.
All right. Now, does anybody else have any more questions?
I have a question. So can you use like Measure Factory on like an iPad? Because I know it's get mobile. And can you create a dashboard like on an iPad? Or
I haven't
just, like,
tried.
on a computer?
You probably could. It might not be the
Might
best
not.
experience.
Right.
Although if you had a mouse connected to your iPad, you probably could.
Well, the problem on the iPad is you can't do drop-down menus, and a lot of the
Oh, really?
functionality is drop-down. Yeah,
Can't you drop the menus on an iPad?
right. You know how when we do sales kit, it's always,
That would be a problem.
yeah, so
You can just like view it on.
you can view it.
Do you have the option to do like 4 blocks, or is it always this is the standard customized?
Oh no, this was basically for this. I came up with this based on what functionality we had for Chime, and then we made these white boxes just so that it wouldn't look like this when we were doing presentations.
Yeah.
But I could just as easily have 3 boxes, 4 boxes.
Oh, okay, those are movable.
These are
That's what I
just
was
for us to, you know, actually, now that we've done it, we really like the idea of having those boxes.
Yeah.
So that was just so once the dashboard was already designed, we put the boxes here so that whoever was doing the demo could just kind of drag and drop and they wouldn't have to worry about lining it up.
Okay, cool.
But you can have as many as you want.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, this is just a background portlet. So if you want to do another one of these, you just do add a portlet, background, and then you just make it white.
Yeah, that actually would be easier if you kept the boxes there for customers.
Yeah.
And then if they did decide that they wanted more, they could add more. But like
Yeah.
this is a good start for them to
Yeah, I know
understand where to
Ed
go
was
from
saying the
here.
same thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So Ed likes the predefined boxes?
Yes.
Yeah, I do too, because it also goes back to what Rose was saying with best practices for dashboards.
Because if you don't give them, someone might get overwhelmed with this many boxes. But if you already give them 3, they might think, oh, maybe 3 is a good idea.
Yeah.
And that would make it easier.
Okay. Any other questions? Everybody set? Okay, so takeaways. So Rose, you're going to try to, we'll ask, Marissa's going to find out from George when it's going to be updated.
Yes.
Okay, then you're going to, and once we get that date, you're going to create a book. Like I'm thinking maybe like a, like 3 panels, like 8.5 by 11, 8, you know, like a spread, like 3 panels, and then that would be it. So we're trying to minimize what we're giving for collateral. But that would be great. Then you'll have the screens to then go ahead and update the pages for the website with the new screen.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, that would be perfect.
And then I'm also going to update the website with Dean's hardware information.
Yep. And then I guess what we can do also is look at the copy on the website and see if the copy on the website reflects the fact that this is so easy to build dashboards and the measures and the dictionary. So who wants to look at the website copy and do a little bit of analysis to see if it reflects? Do you want to do that? Okay. All right. So you could do that.
And then you give it to me.
Yeah, and see if it's reflective of what we just talked about. And then I also think a great idea would be if somebody wanted to do a quick little video for the website about how easy it is to build
I
the dashboard.
Can I give Ricky the workbook and I work on the video?
Sure.
Is that cool?
Yeah. Did Ricky the book for the screenshots?
Yeah.
Or Chelsea?
That would
Where's the Chelsea?
Oh, okay, Chelsea.
Yeah.
Like a little video demo.
Yeah. Well, I think Ricky's only here 2 days a week, so and I need to on. Okay. All right. Anything else you guys that we can take away from this that you think would be beneficial? Who wants to do a blog post on it?
Well, that's a great idea.
How about
Marissa.
Marissa?
Yay.
Marissa. There. Okay. All right. Great. All right. Thank you so much. Okay. So now, would you send us this recording? Sure. All right. Great. All right. Thank you, guys. Now, Kathy, what time do we have to take off?
In about 5 minutes.
Yeah. We have to take. We're going to repeat.
Thank you, Marissa.
Thank you.
Oh,
Okay.
happy.